Hi, friends. Welcome to Lotus in the Light. My name is Jennifer. Glad you could join. If you're here, I don't even know what we're going to talk about yet, so I'm going to have to start with a card. Um, guess I don't have to start with a card. I could start with maybe inviting you guys to take a deep breath. Let's get that three-way connection to the divine. Maybe you've got the topic, and let's just open ourselves up as a channel. Invite spirit in, slower breathing. Get into our parasympathetic nervous system. Give thanks to God, to our spirit guides, angels, loved ones on the other side who are helping us in this journey. And just open, ask, and invite whatever message um, you need to be hearing today. Let's just be an open channel for that. Yeah, let's see what pops out. I grabbed the Sacred Sea Oracle. Dive into the depth of your cosmic soul. Okay, let's dive into the depths of our cosmic soul. Love it. Um, let's see what pops out. Oh, something popped up. We've got one. Akashic Gaia Gateway. Deepen self-knowledge. I love this. This word might be unfamiliar for my followers who are from a more Christian background. And it's a four. It's not unusual for us to get fours around here. Four is all about getting ourselves rooted and grounded in our truth and feeling safe and secure. It's a very human, earthly, when we think of our duality as being both spiritual and human, this is all about four is all about our root chakra, all about our safety and security here in this human experience. Because we don't remember that we're safe and secure, so we don't often feel that way. Um, so this is about deepening our self-knowledge through the Akashic records. Akashic Gaia Gateway. Um, I might read this card, but I'm just gonna tell you what I'm sensing from it. I'm just sensing an enlightenment. Let me talk for a second about the Akashic records. Those from a Christian background would probably best understand them as what we hear or what we think of when we think of the book of life. But we think of the book of life as like a naughty and nice list. Like if you're in the book of life, you're going to heaven. But I'm going to suggest the book of life is something far better and far more than that. It's truly the records of all of our experiences, all of our human experiences collectively in, we'll call it a book of records, but in the spirit world, there's not a physical book, right? There's this collection of um, experiences, this collection of wisdom and knowledge and through our experiences that we all have the opportunity to tap into not only our own experiences, but the experience of others, the experience of our ancestors, so that we can leverage and grow from those experiences. And so this Akashic Gaia Gateway, deepen self-knowledge, is saying to me that um, it's time for us to open up and tap in. We spend how many years of our lives in school in an earthly capacity where we have completely closed the door? And I understand why, because we've become fractured with all these different religious belief systems. And so bringing in any spiritual ideas just becomes a big point of contention, debate, and division. And that's not what God is about. God is about unity. So, how do we find a sense of unity in the spiritual, uh, without ending up in this place of division. And I will say it's from going within and instead of going outward for our spiritual knowledge and understanding. Because when we go outward, that's where we end up, we feel like we have to find somebody we trust and then believe what they tell us. Even me, like I'm sitting here giving you some information, but I'm telling you, don't take my word for it. Go within and find your own truth. So when we go within, when we quiet the mind, the human mind, and tap into the higher mind, which actually resides here in your heart space, when we tap into that higher mind, we have all of the Akashic records to tap into, all of that knowledge and wisdom and understanding. And when we tap into that, we become enlightened, we become um, much more unified and just a much more understanding and loving people because we see the whole picture or more of the picture than we see here in just our earthly human minds. Our human minds operate off of what we know and understand, what our previous experiences have been, what we've been taught in school, what we've been taught by our parents, our religious leaders, what we've even from a DNA standpoint, some of the generational stuff that's kind of carried through in our DNA, like generational trauma and things like that we carry with us. But that's it. It's a very limited perspective. So there's a lot more perspective here to be had. I'm gonna go. I'm trying to decide. I'm holding the biblical tarot because I don't know if this is taking a biblical direction, but I do believe that when we open and tap into that Akashic record, um, that we're going to discover that maybe some of the things we've believed in the past aren't true. Or maybe, and untrue isn't the way to really think about it. The way to think about it is some of the things we have believed in the past, and by believing them, they are true for us, right? They become less true for us until they're not true for us anymore. And then we move on and believe something else. And it's not a linear path. It's not I started here and beliefs like we think that like truth is here, or maybe we start here and then as we learn, we get closer and closer to the truth, to what I would call absolute truth. I don't know that we'll ever know absolute truth in this earthly existence. And I don't know that it's a linear path to that either. In fact, I would say it probably isn't. I would say it's probably this zigzag of, all over the place in our belief systems because each of those different points of belief, that when you believe this, that's true for you in that moment, it's truth. And you will swear by it, right? If I ask you what you believe today, you'll swear by it. Um, but then in a year from now, you might believe something completely different, and that you'll swear by that, right? I'll swear by it too. But just recognizing that each of those points of truth or belief for you, regardless of whether it is absolute truth or whether we've got it wrong, and I would argue most of us have it wrong in some way, um, we're still learning and growing from those understandings and from those perspectives. And then as they change, we continue to learn and grow. And I don't think I don't think we should need to worry about whether we're getting closer to absolute truth or not. I don't think that's the purpose of why we're here. A lot of people are going to disagree with me on that. They're going to say, if we don't figure that out, we're headed to hell. I don't personally believe that. If that belief for you brings you safety and security and a solid foundation, if it brings you joy, if it brings you freedom, if it brings you peace, then that's exactly what you're in your truth. Own it. I'm not trying to convince you otherwise. Um, and if you're not sure, or if you're thinking, I'm kind of open to some other ideas, continue to listen, but just know that um, when you do find that, first of all, ask yourself, what do I believe today? And is that rooted in love or fear? If it's rooted in love and it brings you joy and peace and the fruit of the spirit, right? If it brings you safety and freedom, we were designed to have freedom. and free will. And if you feel like you can operate with free will, then you're in a good belief system. Stay right where you're at. There's no need to change it. And when there is a need to change it, when it's time for you to grow and expand, that truth will no longer serve you. It will start to rub you the wrong way. You'll start to say, I'm not sure I believe this anymore. And then it's time to explore some new ideas. Um, and so I'm sure that there's things that I believe right now that 5, 10 years from now, I'll have a different perspective on. Let's see, what did I draw? I drew the 8 of Grains, the craftsman. So Bezalel, Oholiab, and every skilled person to whom the Lord has given skill and ability to know how to carry out all tasks, to carry out all the work of constructing the sanctuary, are to do the work just as the Lord had commanded. So that's out of Exodus. So here we're looking at some folks who are bringing into the physical experience the place, the sanctuary. They're constructing the place where they are going to connect with God, where they're going to worship God, where they're going to learn about God. Like, this is a sacred temple, and they're constructing it. And so that's what 8 of Grains is all about. They're bringing into the material world this thing that brings them joy, right? That's going to help them to grow and to learn. So that's really what the Akashic records. So what I would argue is that the sanctuary, the physical building that they're building, is metaphoric for building this. Your body is the temple. Your body is the sanctuary that houses. I won't say it houses your soul. Your soul houses your body, if you ask me. But we don't necessarily see, feel, touch our soul, right? So for us in this human experience, it's this body. My favorite scripture, I talk about it all the time, is Romans 12:2. Do not conform any longer to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Another card just popped out. I never that's like the end of what I say, but that verse is actually longer. But that's like the piece of it for me. That's like my favorite part. Do not conform any longer to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. For this is, I'm going to get the words wrong. For your body is the temple. Oh gosh, what is it? Something to the effect of your body being the temple. You're not the temple. Your body is your living and holy sacrifice. Okay, so it's here. It's in your heart space that we connect to God. This is the upper room. This is the temple. So they're talking about building it here into the 3D. And what I would say is that when we build it here in the 3D, what that means is that we are opening up our energy centers to God. We are opening up our connection. We are allowing ourselves to tune in and be the channel to God that we were designed to be, and to design, like, this human experience was all about, can we remember that this is who we are, and can we change the station from all this human stuff, all this human noise, and tune in to God, in our divine, our higher self, our higher mind, aka our soul, who has that direct connection to God. I'm going to go ahead and read. Oh, sorry. I forgot that I pulled this other card. This is so funny. So this card is the Hermit. And this is actually John the Baptist. The Hermit is all about, what number was this? Okay, so it's funny. This goes from an 8 to a 9. So the Hermit is all about learning. You're learning the truth. You're learning and gaining greater understanding. And the Hermit's about kind of going inward. You're kind of separating yourself from the world. You know, you're a hermit, right? You're like going away and going into a space of solitude and making that divine connection. and growing and learning and understanding more about who you truly are. So I love it because it's like you're going from this 8 where you're actively building, you're starting to actively build out that temple to the divine. And you're going within that temple, 9, see the progression, 8, 9. And here opportunities are infinite. The potential is infinite. The world is your oyster. And when you go inward into that hermit mode and you dig deep within, you have the potential to tap into these Akashic records. You have the potential to tap in, and it references it here as a gateway. It's like opening a door to a living library of experience and wisdom and knowledge. So I really love um, that John the Baptist came out in this. Remember what John was doing? He was preparing the way. John was kind of the gateway for Jesus, wasn't he? Um, for that Christ consciousness to enter the world. And I say it that way because it's a little different than maybe how if anybody that's listening that's rooted in the Christian faith would say he was paving the way for Jesus to come, and that Jesus is the way, the truth, the life. He is the one. And I would say it's not about Jesus the man. Now, that might rub you the wrong way, and you might say, that doesn't work for me. That's fine. But what I've come to understand is that Jesus, it's about Christ consciousness. When Jesus um, said in John chapter 14, I believe, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Well, he said in John chapter 14 that no one comes to the Father except through me. And I personally think we have misinterpreted that text. So no one comes to the Father. First of all, our understanding of the Father is this like hierarchical personification God that's part of this patriarchal hierarchy that we're trying to get to. And there's this guy, Jesus, that's like the gatekeeper that says, did you do the right things? Let me see if you checked the box. Give me your ID. Oh, it's not a real ID. I'm sorry. You didn't make it. Sorry, I don't mean to make light, but got to bring a little fun into it, right? Um, but that's a real serious implication if that's your belief system. It's not something to make light of. But what I believe is that, first of all, the term for father is really, when we think of it in the Aramaic, which is the actual language that Jesus was speaking when he said these words, it really embodies not a hierarchical figure, but nobody comes to the Father. The Father is like the breath of life of all things. It is everything. God is everything. And Jesus was saying, if you want to come to this experience of everything, you need to come this way. He wasn't saying you need to bow down, worship me, put me on a pedestal. Jesus was all about humility. I don't know why we get this idea that, well, it's because that is our nature. We have learned to survive through hierarchical structures, through people having power, and having somebody to follow. And Jesus was saying, nobody comes to the Father except through me. But that word me in the Aramaic has a broader meaning than a person, the personification of someone. It meant through an experience. I don't know if experience is the word I want to use, except through this embodiment, except through this consciousness, except through this understanding. Nobody comes to divine everything, unconditional love, except through this path of enlightenment and experience and consciousness. That's what Jesus was saying. So we want to wrap it up around this person and say that this person was the gatekeeper, but he was not. And so I would say that John the Baptist was paving the way for Christ consciousness. He was helping get people ready for this. He was he was bringing the knowledge and wisdom, but he himself had to tap into that first, right? He had to go within. He had to gain that understanding. And now he's bringing that enlightenment to prepare the world for the message that Jesus is going to bring. And we get that information ourselves through the Akashic gateway. So let's see. I've never had this card before, so let's see what it says. This deck is fairly new to me. The affirmation with this card is I am ready to find out more about who I really am. And I am bravely open to learning more about my purpose and mission here on earth. I know what I find will be for my highest good and will help me to truly be the best expressed version my soul has ever known. That's exactly that's exactly this. That's exactly John the Baptist the Hermit. The Hermit is here. What did it say here? I'm bravely open to learning more about my purpose and mission here on earth. That's what the hermit does. The hermit goes inward to learn or to remember, who am I and why am I here? What is my purpose? And John the Baptist had a very important purpose, and he knew it, and he fulfilled it. Um, okay, sacred message. This portal for accessing Gaia's crystalline cave and requesting access to your own Akashic records is ready for you. The key and pathway lie ahead, open and waiting for your discovery. It's up to you to go on the journey, as it is solely your journey to embark upon. The Akashic records are held in safekeeping for you to access when you are ready. There's no rush and no time limit. The records hold the data, memories, and lessons from all of your lifetimes and beyond, and you can connect to this information through the gateway that is protected by Gaia. Choosing to open this requires incredible self-responsibility and inner strength. Are you ready? The discoveries you can find will add such depth and meaning to your life and purpose that your sense of knowing and belonging and your inner peace will be unshakable. I love this. Um, that's what's happening here. They're constructing it. They're constructing the unshakable temple. And you're ready for it. That's what this is telling me. You're constructing it. You're going within to figure it out. Let's close it out. And I'm going to stick with the biblical tarot, since this has taken a biblical direction. And since this is probably way outside of the realm of anything that, from a Christian perspective, that any of you guys have heard. Okay. This is going to rock some worlds in the Christian faith, because we got the death card and people are going to say, oh no, this is somehow evil. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. This is the death of what is no longer serving you. Whatever the beliefs are that were holding you back from really tapping into your authentic self, to your soul, to God, whatever's keeping you. I hate to use the word disconnected, because we're literally made of God material. So we're never disconnected from God, but we can tune God out. We can tune God out when we turn up the volume on the noise of the world too loud. And so this is the death of the old you and the birth of the new you. And it's beautiful. And it breaks down to a 4, just like this breaks down to a 4. This is creating a new solid foundation for you. Man, I'm going to come back to my favorite verse. Romans 12:2. Do not conform any longer to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. For that is your, it's coming to me. For that is your, oh, I'm going to mess it up. I said it before about being your living sacrifice. Um, Last one, I think. Okay. This is an 11, which is a master number, angel number. So consider this to be a message from your guardian angels. It's the Page of Candles. And I just got this the other day, so this is amazing. So your death to the old you, you're birthing a new you, you're building this new sanctuary within, this new temple within, the upper room within, where you are going into hermit mode and you are seeking the divine wisdom straight from God, straight from God. And God God uses all things. If you come to God with a question, God will use things outside of you to confirm, but God will give you the answer directly. And this is what I struggled with for decades. I would pray to God and ask questions, and it was like crickets, and it was painful because I was so, so, so faithful. People that know me will tell you I was devastatingly faithful. And yet it was like crickets. And it was because I was listening. I was looking everywhere but here for the answer. Most of the time I was looking here. I would pray and go quiet and do my prayer time, and I would be here. I would be here. God is here. And unfortunately, our traumas, our emotional barriers and walls that we put up in our life, when scripture talks about the treasures we store up on earth carry on with us into heaven. And I know I don't have that language exactly right, but there's a text that talks about that. This is talking about the emotional baggage. This is talking about the trauma. This is talking about when we put up walls and we don't want to let love in, that carries with us when we leave this life. It creates trauma that we then have to heal from in the next, in the, this, when we go back home to our soul experience. Um, but it also creates static in our communication and connection with God because we connect with God in the heart space. You have to be willing to become vulnerable. You have to be willing to address the emotional traumas in your life. And some of them might not even be yours. They could be generational traumas that have been passed down through your DNA, all kinds of things. But it's time. That's what this is saying. It's time. You're ready. You're ready to crack that nut open, connect directly with God, receive direct messages from God. God will still use things outside of you to confirm. This video could be one of them, but God will use other things. But don't look outside for the answers. Look outside for the confirmations of the answers you've already been given. That's a threatening narrative to a lot of people in power, but that's the way to go. Okay, what does this say? Page of Candles. This is going to be all about candles. Sorry, I always forget what candles is, and I gotta look at this thing. Okay, that's the element of fire. Okay, so this is about our energy. This is about our ideas, our motivations, our ambition. And this is new, right? Exactly what we're talking about. Death to the old. You're building something new here. And your motivation, it says Miriam sang to them, sing to the Lord, for he is highly exalted. Both horse and driver he has hurled into the sea. This is Exodus. So this is Miriam singing praise for being saved and freed from their experience in slavery in Egypt. So celebration. You are no longer enslaved. There's a new you, and this new you has wisdom and experience from past lives, wisdom and experience from your ancestors' experiences, wisdom and experience from just direct connection to the divine God, all through the Akashic records that you can access to grow and learn. I'm going to leave it right there. I love you guys. I hope this message, I don't even know where this message started or went. I hope it was everything Spirit intended it to be. I trust that it was. Thank you. Peace out.